Welcome to Release to Results. It's our free series on A Course in Miracles, releasing as we go through the lessons. Today is lesson 33. There is another way of looking at the world. So we're going to look outside, what seems outside of us. We're going to look inside, what seems inside of us. And we're going to take a look at these perceptions and the clinging to our perceptions of things as they seem to be to us now, our resistance to and our aversion to seeing things differently, and just open gradually to this. There's another way of looking at the world. So if you find things coming up for you that you're looking at that it- are good or bad, it doesn't really make a difference. The idea is to be really loose, really gentle with what's coming through our awareness during this lesson, and just opening to this idea of today that there is another way of looking at the world. And there could be resistance to that idea. That's okay. Notice what's coming up for you as the as feelings. As feelings. The releasing process is just allowing feelings to be there, sitting with them, and as you sit with them, the energy behind them is going. It's releasing. It's a natural process. Everybody does it all the time. Just a lot of times we're locking in this energy with by thinking about it, by going into action, suppressing it, repressing it, escaping from it, expressing it. Um, could you just for this brief period today allow yourself to feel what's coming up for you, be observant, be feeling, and if you're willing, let go of these perceptions that you've had of the world. So there is another way of looking at the world. It's just a suggestion, it's just an idea. Notice if anything is coming up for you, being easy with this process. So to begin, merely glance casually around. And there's stuff, there's things in this space. And whatever you're perceiving, could you allow yourself just to hold in mind there is another way of looking at this, of looking at the world? And notice what comes up for you. There's like this loyalty to this way I've looked at the world. There's a wanting consistency, wanting knowing, perhaps. I know what this is. And that's okay. Could you notice any holding on to any perception of what's in your space, the way you're looking at it now? And could you allow yourself to feel that holding, clinging, or whatever's coming up for you in the way you're seeing the things in your space now? And could you release the way you're looking at the world? Would you release the way you're looking at the world? Let there be possibly another way. When could you release the way you're looking at the world? It's just an idea. What comes up for you? There's another way of looking at the world. And As you glance around your space, around the room, there is another way of looking at this. These things. And is there any resistance or refusal to another way of seeing what's in your space? That there could be another way of looking at this cell phone, this wall, this desk, whatever's there for you. Do you notice any resistance to seeing it another way? And that's okay. Could you allow that resistance that's coming up for you? Could you just be with whatever is coming up for you, with even the consideration that there's another way of looking at these things, the world? And could you let it release? Could you let the resistance release and look at this another way? Would you release? Maybe there's another way. Maybe that's not so bad. It's okay. Maybe not. You never have to release any resistance. When could you release the way you're looking at the world or resisting seeing it another way? And now, perhaps going within, closing your eyes, and noticing, just being aware of your inner thoughts, watching what goes by. The word they use in the lesson is a survey of the thoughts coming through your mind, your seemingly inner awareness, inner aspects. And you might take a thought, and there's another way of looking at this. Well, can you notice any wanting to look at it the same way, wanting it to be consistent, familiar, wanting to know about it, seeming to know about it, seeming to have the right view of this thing in your mind? And that's okay. Without judging or moralizing it, could you notice the feeling of looking at this way and wanting to keep looking at it this way? Making it right, wanting to be right. And could you just sit with this energy as best you can? And could you surrender looking at this way? Could you give up looking at this way. Allow that there's another way of looking at this. When could you let go, surrender, looking at things this way, and allow yourself to look at the world in another way? There is another way of looking at the world. Just a suggestion, just an idea. What comes up for you? So, again, looking at thoughts that are passing through, and it doesn't matter what thoughts. It's not a good or a bad thing to focus on, just letting it easily move through your mind, whatever's happening. And could you take one of these thoughts and just notice how you're looking at it? Could you feel any sense of refusal, denial, or resistance to looking at it differently, to another way of looking at this? And without making right or wrong of what's coming up for you, could you allow the energy, the resistance to seeing things another way, or whatever's there for you? And could you release that resistance or whatever's there and allow just the possibility that there's another way of looking at this? Would you release and find perhaps there's another way of looking at the world? When could you release? There's another way of looking at this. And just letting, once again, being uninvolved and casual with what's coming through your mind. Anything. Here's thoughts drifting through, and there's another way of looking at the world. Maybe take one of those thoughts. And could you notice how you seem to be looking at it? What comes up for you when you're thinking this thought, focusing on this thought, this situation that's in mind? How have you been looking at it? And whether it's true or not, could you notice the energy behind looking at this way? Could you feel that energy, that feeling, whatever it is, that would have you look at this, perceive this way? And just for now, could you let go of that? Would you let go? When could you let go of seeing this way and allow there might be another way of looking at the world, this situation? Just an opening. There is another way of looking at the world. Just noticing whatever comes up for you. It's just an idea. There's this energy behind how I'm looking at the world. So, noticing the thoughts that are coming through, just taking a look, what's happening in mine, just casually witnessing the thoughts. And could you notice one of these thoughts? Just take one, any thought, good or bad, and could you notice the way you perceive this, the way you're looking at this thought? And how does that feel when you're looking at this way? Could you notice the energy? Not good energy, not bad energy, just the feeling behind the thought when you're looking at this way. Could you welcome that feeling? And could you let it go? Would you let go of this feeling coloring your perception and the way you're looking at this? When could you let go of this frequency of looking at the world? There is another way of looking at the world. And this is a casual observation of thought. Could you look at the thoughts as they pass through your mind? The images, the words, the scenarios, just uninvolved, just witnessing, detached from what's coming through. And as you're noticing things, there is another way of looking at this. And taking any of those thoughts, whichever one's there right now, could you notice your perception, how you're looking at this thought, this image, this scenario? And could you embrace the feeling that's there for you behind this way of looking at the world? Could you be aware of and feeling this energy that has been your perception of this thing? And could you surrender this energy, this way of looking at the world, looking at this? Would you surrender looking at the world this way and just be open to another way of looking at the world or this thought, this situation? When could you surrender this perception of the world and look at it another way? And you're free to surrender or not. You might notice clinging to a way you're looking at the world or a situation, or resisting looking at it differently. Use everything that comes up for you. Could you allow it, acknowledge it, release it? Always optional. And again, just surveying this activity that is thinkingness, thoughts of this, thoughts of that, stories, movies, pictures, words, and casually selecting one of these inner thoughts. There is another way of looking at this. And could you notice the feeling behind perceiving it, looking at it the way you do at this moment? Behind every thought is a feeling. Could you notice the feeling energy behind looking at this the way that you were? It's okay. Without judging it or moralizing about it, could you just ignore the thought now and feel this feeling energy that's been stuck? It's been the repeating signal of seeing things this way. And could you just allow that energy to flow for a moment without trying to modify it or change it? Just feeling just for now. And could you release this way of looking at this energy? Would you release if you could and find there is another way of looking at this? When could you release the energy of how you perceived this before and find there's another way of looking at this? There's no rush. Maybe now, maybe later. Just a chance to release now. There is another way of looking at the world. And could you be casual, uninvolved, detached as you go through the world today, just noticing these ways you've been looking at things in your mind, Eyes open or eyes closed. Perhaps there's an energy, an attractor pattern, a feeling, which would have perceptions repeat, stay the same, remain familiar. Could you just gently observe and notice the feeling that's carried behind the way you're looking at the world in these situations? What's in your space? What's in your mind? And could you allow it without making right or wrong of it? And perhaps there's a willingness to surrender this pattern, this energy, this feeling, and discover there's another way of looking at the world. Thanks for letting go through A Course in Miracles with us. We'll have another live broadcast tomorrow, and these recordings are always going to be available. Um, if you'd like, please join us for a whole lot more releasing. Bring up your own topics. Releasetoresults.com. Everyone gets 14 days for free. We've got 100 sessions every month, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. For open releasing. And we're about to get into our mastery session with letting go the pathway of surrender. That's going to be in just about an hour. Releasetoresults.com. We're going to be broadcasting on Zoom, reading, discussing, and releasing Dr. Hawkins' book, Letting Go the Pathway of Surrender. And that's every Wednesday, 10 to 12 Mountain Standard Time. And I'm going to send you these books, Letting Go, Transcending the Levels of Consciousness, and the Sedona Method when you sign up for your free trial today at releasetoresults.com. Hope to see you in some of the live sessions or keep coming back to these on YouTube, and have the best day